What's up? It's your boy Drizzy Drake, and you are now rocking with DJ Payne.
God bless you. Come on. Bless you. Wherever you are. Say it again, y'all. Bless you. Oh, Lord. Wherever you are. God bless you wherever you are. To anyone that's crossed my path, God bless you. To pour into someone's life is quite special. The game isn't over cause I got another level. We don't have to be blood to be used as a vessel. Not only do we impacted by others. When it's time to give back, please give back to the mothers and the fathers, the sisters and brothers that make it worth it, and all the little babies that's so innocent and perfect. Tell them all that they deserve it. The grace, the compassion, show a smile and be kind, start a chemical reaction. If you taught me anything along my way, I wanna thank you. More to it than money, I keep my memories in the bank too. Seasons forever change, check the leaves on the trees. Some of them fall off, some get lost in the breeze. If you feeling down and out and you think that no one cares, I think about you all when I say my prayers. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Come on in. Today is Tuesday. What is it? November, what's the date? I should have known. 14th. Tuesday, November 14th. We took a hiatus last week, but we're back this week, so you guys come on in. It is time for another installment of your favorite show by the name of the No Shortcut Show with Midas and Fame. Give you guys a few moments to come on in. Please say hi as you're coming on in. Feel free to hit the likes, hit the hearts. Let's boost the algorithm. Feel free to share on your individual pages and give you guys a few moments to come on in. The weather is nice today. It's a little, actually we're kind of straddling the fence of warm weather and cold weather. It's chilly nights, chilly mornings, but very nice and beautiful and sunny. That is light hitting off my glasses right over here. It's very sunny.
You know how I know that it's getting that change.
Special effect on the gold glasses.
Last night, yesterday evening, my wife started bringing in all her plants. So all the
Oh
plants that
yeah,
can't survive outside in the wintertime and it gets too cold
that's
overnight.
true.
So now all the plants
Yeah,
are getting cut down and coming on
yeah,
inside. Miss
yeah.
Francis is
There's my
with us.
mother.
Good
Hello,
afternoon.
Mom. She told us put in the comments yesterday she was gonna be here. She couldn't wait.
Yep.
Thank you, Mom, for being here. Much love to you.
Hello,
Hello,
Robin.
Robin. Robin, fresh back from the Carolina Beach Music Awards.
Oh,
You
sweet,
guys, come
sweet.
on in. Come on in.
My
Please
man
say
Brian
hi.
Park. What's up, Brian?
Brian Park, DJ B.
Yeah, Park Place
Park Place.
Entertainment. Man, I
y'all
wish I
come
had
on
that
in.
name still.
Yeah. We're gonna work it out behind the scenes. Add me to the LLC.
Yeah. That's awesome.
You
man.
know,
That's a
yeah.
great-
Make sure you guys say hi though as you're coming in, so we know who's here. Let us know where
Yeah,
you're
let us
watching
know
from.
you're here.
If you have any, your business links, your social media links, feel free to drop those in the chat as well, because we always like to encourage each other to support each other here at No Shortcuts, and we
Yeah,
appreciate each and every one of you for all of your faithfulness, all of your interaction, all of your contributions, not only to our platform but to our community over on Facebook, which I believe now we are at 523. We had to do some changes on the settings.
It's going.
You know what I mean?
It's going to move a little bit slower now that we
Hey,
made
yo,
that thing private.
I think the bots got mad at me last week when I was
Yeah.
calling the bots out.
Yeah.
They turned up.
Anita, hello,
Anita.
Thank
Hello,
you
thank you for
with
joining us. Yeah. So when I called the bots out last week, they ended up turning up on us a little bit more.
Yeah,
So
that's
I had
all right.
to and thank you all for always making sure we know what's going on.
Yeah.
Hi, Laura. Come
Laura
on in.
from
Come
Ohio.
on in.
Thanks for
Ohio.
coming in
Yeah.
with us.
Yeah, so we thank you guys for always bringing it to our attention when there's something the bots are doing that's a little, to the left, and we take care of it. And I said, Famous, I think we're just gonna have to go ahead and change these settings, so
Yeah,
now
it's
everything
private
has
now.
to go through us as far as posts being in our community. But we don't mind if you're a member. If you have some information you want to share it as it pertains to your business, or you have an event coming up that you want to promote over in the No Shorts community, feel free to do so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Man. What's your
Yeah,
week like,
yeah.
man? What's been going on since
Well-
we last did a show?
Yeah, so I'm gonna skip the recap from 2 weeks ago since
Yeah.
we missed last week. So Friday, man, Brandon Stevens and I were representing Mellow Groove this past Friday. Also, shout out to Winthrop University. It was Winthrop
sure.
University homecoming, but we played a nice little event at Corks, Cooks, and Books here in Rock Hill. It was it's like a restaurant, a wine bar, and a bookstore, and it felt like we were playing our version of the Tiny Desk.
Yeah.
It was really cool. We was at the library with food
Yeah.
and everything else, but no, it was a cool little vibe, man, and we packed it out quite naturally, because we've been fortunate enough to have a great local following with our
Yeah.
Mellow Groove outfit. So it was overflowed, and at times people were waiting to be seated and whatnot, but good vibes overall. And we had some fellow Winthrop alumni come over and hang out with us too, man. So shout out to Shanali and Mindy over at Corks, Cooks, and Books.
Shout
If you're in
out to
Rock
them.
Hill, definitely check them out. Yeah,
Good
and
deal,
so
man.
Saturday I was supposed to have been off, but I got a call from my friends, the Groove Masters.
Hey.
Shout out to Charles Page. And the crazy thing is, I had just hit him up earlier in the week because, normally if they're like when I'm busier and you got your friends may call and say, hey man, we need you. So I'm just letting them know, hey, we're getting into the cold weather season. I won't be as tied up as much if you need me. That was like Tuesday, Wednesday. Saturday around noon or 1 o'clock, I got a call from those guys, and their keyboard player was a little bit under the weather. So I went to play a restaurant gig with them at Mr. Charles Chicken and Fish, which is a franchise up in Charlotte that I never had even heard of. But that was a pretty cool spot as well,
Sounds
and they
like
have
it.
good chicken and fish.
Yeah.
And then
man.
so did that, and Sunday I was doing my minister music duties at Mount Dewell Baptist Church, Sunday morning, man, and I took it easy Sunday evening and pressed the reset button yesterday, and here we are.
Yeah, man. That's nice.
Yeah. What about yourself? Don't let me steal all the.
I don't ever remember where I was that far back. But
you haven't brought your calendar
weddings,
over yet.
Weddings. We had a bunch of weddings the past couple weeks. DJ Nuff said did one for us. My man Trey J. Josh Brown did one in Charleston a couple weeks last weekend, and then I've had a couple coming up. Oh, the important stuff though. Last
Yeah.
Monday, you know, we do the prison ministry every Monday at Kershaw Correctional.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
last Monday, baptized 21 inmates there.
That's awesome. Hit
And
the applause. Let's hit the
yeah,
applause
I'll
for
give
the.
myself an applause. And
Yeah. Yeah.
this one, and this, you know, we've done baptism three different times, but this one, I was the one in the tank doing the baptizing, so that was a little bit different for me.
Okay.
But,
Okay. You got to
yeah, it was
work out
cool.
there. You had to baptize 20 men and dip
Yeah,
them and
had
pull them back.
and they most of them big boys too, bigger than me.
You know, hey,
And,
hey, man, they
had,
hefty young men.
Yeah, it was a really memorable experience though, and we had Pastor Jason Price, who pastors Elevation Church in Gaston, and I've known Jason for years before he was a full-on campus pastor, and I was so happy that we were able to get him to come and speak to the inmates because like
That's
his
great.
perspective, he came at it, you know, from exactly what they needed to hear, man. So that was great.
Yeah,
That was great.
that's
Ashley
big
Kennedy,
kudos.
thank you, Ashley. Thanks for joining us as well.
Big kudos. Hi,
And then
Ashley.
It's just been
How are
wedding
you?
time, man.
Yeah,
Today
and
I
with
have
speaking
one-
of, Famous has a wedding to
Yeah.
to do today, ladies and gentlemen. So we're gonna make sure we are prompt.
me out of here on
Get at
time.
in an hour. So
Yeah.
he's got some business, and we dare not have him late for his business, leaving the No Shortcuts platform.
Okay, and Brian says he knows. Oh, so you know Jason Price?
Hey, okay.
Yeah, so yeah, Jason's my guy, Brian. He I've known him when he used to when he worked at Riverwalk, which is where I work primarily out of, the Riverwalk location. And then he got his own, you know, once he got promoted to a campus pastor, he took over the Gaston campus. So he's been there a few years now.
That's
But
awesome.
he had a good
man.
word for us on Monday.
Yeah,
So
we
yeah,
need
I have
that.
a wedding. I have a wedding today, and I'm actually missing my kids' not championship, but first playoff soccer game.
Oh man.
I coached the team, but
Uh-huh.
playoffs is today on a wedding day, so assistant coaches are gonna have to take over for me.
Yeah,
And then
yeah. They'll
once
be
we
texting.
win, they'll be texting and FaceTiming me. But once we win today, championship game is on Saturday, so I'm not worried
Cool.
about it.
And
I'm
yeah,
not
shout
worried
out.
about it.
Yeah, big shouts to the couple that's getting married on a Tuesday. It's going
Yeah.
up on a
It's gonna go
Tuesday.
up on a Tuesday,
What's up,
for
Juan? I
sure.
came by and dropped a couple comments on your live. I didn't get a chance to watch the whole thing. I was getting washed up and dressed
Yeah.
so I could be here. We all about punctuality, but I saw your live, man. Want to show a little love. Thank you so much. Our resident vacation/cruise planner, notary, and all of that good stuff.
Absolutely. Ashley wants
Can
you
I
to
get
sing.
you to sing? Oh man, that must
play
be.
Happy
Is that
Birthday.
to you famous? He's the
Well,
DJ.
yeah, exactly.
Man, are
Well,
we
you
taking
can play.
requests right now?
You could play Happy Birthday.
We'll
Ashley.
see.
Happy birthday, Ashley.
We'll sing it right quick. Everybody gonna sing it with me. Hey,
Yeah.
birthdays are special, ladies and
That's
gentlemen.
right.
I'm gonna count us in. Famous, you ready?
Turn my mic down, but go ahead.
1, 2, 3. Happy
Happy
birthday
birthday
to you.
That's it.
Happy birthday to you. Happy
James is
birthday,
doing it too.
dear Ashley. Happy
Happy
birthday to you. And we're gonna hit the applause and proceed with the show.
Happy birthday. Anita says happy birthday as well. Let me give you an applause for your birthday, Ashley.
Hey,
Yo, let's bring our guests up here, man.
Yeah, and if y'all got any musical requests, don't ask Famous to do it.
No, you know better. You know better. That request gonna sit there.
I digress.
Man, I had a dude ask me the other day for a song. Right after I played it, he asked me to play a song.
Oh, what's
I said,
wrong with these
You mean
people?
the one I just played? He didn't.
He
wasn't paying
went
attention.
outside. He went
must
to the
have.
bathroom.
It's
And
like,
isn't
I
it funny how
literally
they
just played that
always?
song.
Isn't it funny how they request a song and you play it, they get missing? It's automatic. You know?
Yeah.
I didn't
Yo,
hear
can
my
you play
song.
that? That was
All right,
just
but
the
let's go
last
ahead
song.
Hey, we got to put Famous on punishment. He acting up today.
Go ahead.
All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Our special guest for today.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, he's been an avid supporter of our community over in the No Shortcuts platform. I think we were chatting in the green room beforehand, but he first was a participant back some episodes ago when we had Miss Rhonda Badikian on, and since then he's supported us. He's always in the comments every week. I discovered he does music as well, not only just music production, but he makes animation. He create effects, does music videos, anything of that sort, and he's basically, ladies and gentlemen, a one-stop shop for all your visual and audio artistic needs. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? So without any further ado, I think he's out in Ohio too. So all the way out in
Yes.
Ohio, because we're in the Carolinas. Ladies and gentlemen, help us welcome Mr. James F. Masters.
Yeah. What up, James?
How you guys doing? Thanks for having me on.
Hey, thanks for
Yes,
being on.
sir. It's a pleasure to have you, man. And like I was saying, we wanted to show appreciation, give you some flowers for your participation with our platform and your interaction along the way, and especially who doesn't love music? And we know that you definitely have a story to tell, and you could definitely enlighten us on some things as it pertains to musical production, and also your music videos, the audio and the visual aspects, and we can learn something. I think we're all here to learn. We understand
Yeah.
that in any industry, and I'm in the music field too, and I look forward to learning from other people that do music. So whatever the field or whatever anybody may be involved in, we can always learn a little something. Not just from the industry, but from your marketing or your approach and things
Hmm.
like that. And we can
Yeah.
take some of those things and apply them where need be. So thank you.
Well, thanks again for having me on, guys.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed watching your show, and as we were talking about, you said in the green room, watching going back to That's My Story,
Yeah.
back to
Oh
20.
yeah. That's my
So,
story.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
you guys have been a great historical reference too, and
Yeah.
music lover,
Yes, sir.
listening to all those old Motown 45s that my mom and my uncle had at my grandmother's house, and an old like big console. You had like the stacks you could put down, and it was
Yes.
mostly Motown. So,
Yes.
it
Yes.
was cool to learn that history, the deeper history.
Hmm.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And
Yes.
for those who aren't familiar with That's My Story, that was my first podcast that I had the pleasure of doing back in 2020. That's how I kind of got into this lane. So if you got some free time this weekend and your Netflix isn't acting right, go to the chairman of the board, the chairman of the board on YouTube, the official chairman of the board / That's My Story. We got like 50 episodes over there talking to some of your favorite musical legends over the years. But enough about me, James.
Yeah.
Hey, people try to give me flowers on this platform, I hand them
Yeah.
right back.
Yeah, that's okay.
Uh,
That's okay.
I,
It's
I,
appreciated.
I sprinkle a little water on them and hand them right back to you. You know what I
Hmm.
All
mean?
right, all right.
Yeah, yeah, but just to get us a little bit more familiar with your story, we like to go to the very beginning. So, if you don't mind, tell us and the people at home where you were born and raised, and tell us a little bit about your family life and your upbringing.
Okay. Well, as you guys mentioned, my name's James Masters. I
Yes.
was born May 27, 1971. 52 years old this year.
Yeah.
My
Looking
mother
good,
and
man.
father.
Hmm.
Thank you,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah.
It's not the age, it's the mileage. Sometimes, you know what I'm saying.
Ah,
And
Yeah.
that's
Dad
true.
Jones was right. Um, my mother and father. My late father's name was George Masters.
Okay. Okay.
My mother Regina.
Hmm.
I was born in Ravenna, Ohio, at Robinson Memorial Hospital. It's a town in northeast Ohio that it's the center of Portage County.
Hmm.
6 miles to the west of us is Kent. Now everybody knows Kent, Ohio, from Kent
Yeah.
State University. Okay,
Yes. Yes.
yeah, so that they're in the same county, so we kind of have that, but we are the county seat. I'm from a local historic family who were the first Italians to ever settle. I have my dad's last name, but on my mom's side, it was the Coates family, which came over as
Okay.
Clozo from Coliano, Italy. Okay.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and it goes back, to the late 1800s with
Hmm.
this, and we have some unique family history to where our family tree even extends to current Ohio governorship. Well, part of
Hmm.
that administration, anyway.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, people have done, made their mark in an extraordinary way. So there's some
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
interesting
awesome.
history
Yeah, you come
that's
from a
there.
lineage of people that of movers and shakers, so to speak.
Yeah.
And that's just my mom's side. Listen,
Okay.
my mom's side, it was such an interesting family that one of the guests at my mom and dad's wedding was a former surgeon of Fidel Castro who escaped Cuba.
Oh
Hmm.
wow.
She still has the vase sitting on a china buffet in her dining
Yeah.
room.
Wow.
Uh,
Wow. Yeah.
so really neat history, and it grew up like. And my maternal grandmother. I mentioned to listen to music. at her house. Well,
Hmm.
I was there all the time.
Okay.
She enriched me with culture from
Hmm.
all over the world. We would go to Kent State and watch dancers, like anything,
Yeah.
any student from like Taiwan or India. Kent State
Hmm.
used to have houses across the street from where my grandmother lived, where they hosted them. So we'd have people from all over the world, she that would come to her house and she would host them, and it was culturally rich and it was
Yeah, that's
amazing.
great though.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was amazing, and to listen to those Motown records or like music from all over the world. She had a record that was marching bands from all over the world.
Hmm.
Really.
Yeah, like all like
Mm.
Scotland, England, here in the United States,
Yeah.
just marching music,
Uh-huh.
bagpipes, for Scotland. I mean, it was just
Hmm.
stuff like this. There was like this big, just eclectic
Yeah, like a
mix of
melting pot
music
of
just from her,
culture,
you know.
music, and yeah, yeah. And see,
And
and
it was cool. It was cool, And then
yeah.
my dad's side had its own unique set of
Hmm.
amazing folks too. I mean, it's just there's a lot of great history that
Yeah.
it's very
Very cool.
prideful. I'm the oldest of four brothers that
Hmm.
my mom had with my dad, but then she had two other uh, kids with another gentleman after my parents divorced.
Okay.
Um, I put diapers on them. They're like the youngest is 14 years younger than me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next one is 12 years. So, there's a little bit of an age gap.
Hmm.
Um,
Sure.
I'm an Air Force veteran. I joined after 9/11. Specifically, I was
Oh
not
wow.
married at the time. Didn't have a
Uh-huh.
girlfriend.
Yeah.
I had
And
one
thank you
child.
for your service. We just celebrated
Absolutely. Happy
Veterans Day
Veterans Day to you.
over the
I thank
weekend.
you for the support.
Hmm.
If it was for not for that time of service, my living daughters would not be here right now. It's a
Hmm.
funny dichotomy.
Hmm.
The only child I had at the time was deceased. It passed away in 1990
Okay.
as a baby,
Condolences.
and so it was like when everything broke out. My first reaction is, what can I do? So I joined.
Yeah.
Had to get an age
Hmm.
waiver to go active, and
Hmm.
there I was.
Wow.
Um, got a back injury, spinal injury in there. I shouldn't walk at
Mm.
all. I'm very
Wow.
fortunate too.
Hmm.
God is
Uh,
good.
it's 20 years into it. Well, from my knees down, I don't feel much.
Hmm.
Mm.
It's all in my head. I have to like
Okay.
tell myself, pick them up, put them down. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
serious.
Mm.
I've developed a whole mental thing, and it's taught
Yeah.
me what people get through. And
Mm.
I'm humbled, and I'm nothing compared to folks that I served with, not personally, but just in general.
Mm.
Don't have limbs, man. Those are my heroes, and not because they've gone through a lot more.
Yes.
My story is my story, but it's humbling. It's humbling.
Yeah.
Anything in
Yeah.
life can be very humbling. Um,
Absolutely.
it's good to have pride, but anything can be humbling,
Yes.
and it's good to stand up for things too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
challenges our sense of humility at times too, because sometimes when we're standing up for something very serious,
Hmm.
we almost have to bypass some of that humility on some levels because we have to get that more powerful message across
Yeah.
Hmm.
Boldness
because
sometimes.
it's so serious that like if you
Hmm.
don't, you got to step on a little toes. Was it Winston Churchill once said, "You have enemies? Good. That means you stood up for something once in your life."
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You should. Everybody shouldn't be your friend.
That's
Yeah.
true.
You gotta ripple the waters
Hmm.
occasionally, in order to do something spectacular or to do something that's never been done before. And
Right.
even more so, just to add on to what you're saying, man, you never know what people are going through. So as
Yeah.
you encounter people day to day, hey, like the song was saying, the in the intro, show a smile. You know what I'm saying? Start a
Yeah.
chemical reaction. Smile, say hello. You never know. Treat people with kindness because you never know what they may be going through. So we applaud you, man. Not only for your service, but
Hmm.
for enduring, the injuries that you may have had and that you encounter, not may have the injuries that you encounter. Did I freeze or am I all right?
Yeah. Just
I'm
keep
I'm
talking and
I'm
it'll fix
lacking.
itself.
Okay,
Little
okay,
semi
yeah,
glitchy,
and
semi glitchy.
Yeah.
That darn Matrix
but
again,
but
right?
Yeah.
yeah, that matrix, man. But having the mental capacity and the willpower to not let that stop you from things that that you want to do and things that you want to accomplish and achieve, especially your passions and your dreams and your goals, things like
Hmm.
that.
It actually can
Yeah,
be more inspiring if you let it. Um,
yeah,
I found that, I'm sure everybody can relate to that. And a special shout out to Laura, who's a friend of mine, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay,
We live
okay,
in the
yeah.
same area. And thank you, Ashley. I don't know if she heard me. She thanked me for my service. I just wanted to acknowledge
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Thank you. And everybody
Absolutely.
else who joined. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, I appreciate the comments. I mean, it's just facts of history. See,
Mm-hmm.
my grandmother, maternal grandmother, I mentioned, she was the person, if somebody ever gave her accolades, she hated it. Not because
Mm-hmm.
she didn't appreciate it, but because
Mm-hmm.
she didn't do what she did because she wanted the attention. She
Right.
did it because it
Hmm.
was right. It's just family history. It's
Yes.
like being the first Italians, they helped other Italians immigrate,
Hmm.
that immigrated. My great
Hmm.
grandfather and his brother were translators at the county court at the time to help translate, Italian and English, so that way everybody had their rights
Wow.
Yeah.
respected and
Yeah.
everything else.
Yeah.
It was my great great grandmother Philomena. She was known as the Queen of Ravenna
Mm.
because of how many people she, just
Mm-hmm.
naturally helped. But they did it
Yeah.
because it was the right thing to do.
The right
You
thing to
know,
do.
and it was about community, and they knew
Hmm.
that there were no shortcuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, hey,
Hey, that's
nice.
what I'm talking
I like
about.
what you did there, James. I
I
like
like when you
what you did there.
bring it on home, man. Bring it on home.
Yeah, so I want to go back. I know we went from like upbringing, and then you told us about you joining the military, but in between there, you had to fall in love with music, right? I know you spoke about being at your grandmother's house. So many Motown records playing. Is that what kind of initially made a light bulb go off, for lack of a better term, as far as the love for
Oh yeah.
music is concerned?
Oh yeah, that was a big thing, and I'm talking. I was a little kid,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it
between
happens early.
being born and the first 5 years before going to kindergarten. I was at my
Mm-hmm.
grandmother's day in and day out because both my parents worked.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
at least 5 days a week, she would do it, and eventually, I figured it out. Even as a little kid to do this, and then she had a player piano there, multiple
Okay.
family members that were musically inclined.
Oh
As I
wow.
mentioned, all the different cultural things.
Yes.
Then my dad was more rock. He
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
liked well, he oh man, let's see, Queen, of course.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
Rolling Stones, Joe
Yeah.
Walsh, and of course,
Yeah.
Joe Walsh and the Eagles. Joe Walsh is from Kent, Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Okay, he
okay.
still shows up in Kent, Ohio, from time to time to visit
That's
family.
awesome. Yeah, that's
Okay,
awesome.
yeah. So, my dad had a buddy that was good friends with Joe Walsh, and apparently Joe Walsh thought this guy was a better guitar player. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
I, but he was a more guitar player. My dad was a Vietnam veteran.
Okay.
He loved Steely Dan. Okay,
Yeah.
Steely
Mm.
Dan's Asia album. That was
Yeah.
his
Me too.
album of choice at every party he had. That was the background. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
it was a variety of things, and then life took hold, parents divorced, different things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, 80s, growing up in the 70s, 80s. I never really fit in. I was a kid that was bullied, just the little guy that kind of felt geeky. I was sitting at home. Everybody was doing what they were doing. I'm sitting at
Uh-huh.
home drawing comic books, teaching
Yeah.
myself how to draw.
Being
Okay. By
being
the time
artistic, expressing
Yeah, I
yourself.
mean, that was how I expressed myself. That's how I
Yeah.
took that childhood imagination of like playing with toys and
Mm-hmm.
transferred it into something that I could like express myself
Absolutely.
and read comics, do that. But then the music, I liked the music that was there, but it was something about the times. I'm like, I wasn't doing it. It wasn't hitting it
In the
right.
in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like something. I wasn't all into all of the guitar stuff at the time, like
Uh-huh.
the glam
Uh-huh.
metal and everything else. I
Yeah.
liked certain songs, but I couldn't like jive. And remember, it spun off. It spun off
Yeah.
in weird directions in that era.
Right.
Remember,
Right.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
but the electronic stuff, like
Yeah. It
you had
became.
like,
Mhm.
well, let's see, Depeche Mode was in there.
Mm-hmm.
Then I like The Cure, anything that was alternative. I
Mhm.
started getting into, and it had synthesizers.
Yeah. Definitely
Depeche
the
Mode
sense.
really shaped a lot for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I got into punk rock, like
Okay.
Sex Pistols,
Let's go.
and they
Uh-huh.
wound up with a mohawk. No, really, senior
Were
year of high
you
school.
rebelling at that time with the mohawk? Were you rebelling?
Let me tell you what, if you imagine the hardcore punk rockers with the leather jacket, the chains, the spikes,
Yeah, you
Mm-hmm.
did all that.
that was me.
The
Yeah.
That was
gloves with the
absolutely me.
fingertips cut out too.
No, but they had like spiked collars,
Yeah.
Okay.
rings all over the
Okay.
fingers. Listen,
Nice, man.
That was when mosh pit started. Let me tell you what, there was a rhyme and reason for those jackets and those spikes. It was
Oh
armor
yeah,
for those mosh pits,
Yeah.
man.
yeah. It got a little rough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get
It
Did
was,
you ever?
manhandled in
it
there.
was friendly, but it was
I've never.
armor. I mean,
Yeah. Did you ever do the mosh pit? I've never talked
oh
to
yeah,
anyone who ever did. Oh my goodness.
oh yeah.
I never. Hey, listen. This is the first for me.
Yeah.
I've seen it, but I've never talked to anyone who participated
Yeah.
in the mosh pit. It
Oh
get
yeah,
without
oh yeah.
if we can stay within guidelines, like how crazy. Like it gets like really brutal. People are really trying to hurt each other in there. I mean, I know it's
No,
in the
no. Here's
name
the
of
thing.
music. A good time.
Back then, it was like it started off as this. It looked ugly, but it was this weird.
It's a rush.
It's kind of like sparring with somebody.
Ah,
Let me
like
put it that
slap
way. It's like
boxing, but with a
sparring.
closed fist.
But nobody was really trying to hurt. You know, it was controlled
Okay.
strikes, and
Okay.
everybody knew we're just letting some angst out.
Mhm.
But
Okay.
if so,
Gotcha.
listen, if somebody fell down, like a whole group would pick them up.
Okay, man.
You see what I'm
Yeah,
saying? It
Yeah.
wasn't
yeah.
about like let's really hurt each other.
I
It was
gotcha.
about that, and
Guys being
it was
guys.
cool. It was
Yeah.
almost like a weird brotherhood, you
Mhm.
know,
Mhm.
because I mean, everybody from Gen X. Yeah, all right. I mean, we got weird issues, man. Um, it was a weird time frame, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
it was a pleasant way to get it out. It was a
Mhm.
pleasant way to get it out,
Yes.
but it was fun. I didn't always
Yeah.
get in there, but
Mhm.
it was fun. It was fun, and the bands is what brought everybody together.
Yeah.
Let's bring it back to the music because the bands is what did it.
Yeah. The
And
music. Yeah. Absolutely.
although
Yeah.
these particular bands were harder edge,
Mhm.
it was a great way to express. But then I'd go back to like the Cure, who had guitar,
Mhm.
and it had
Mhm.
synthesizer. Like when they released the song "Just Like Heaven," and
Mhm.
MTV started playing that video. I
Mhm.
saw it in photography class. The teacher went in the classroom at the moment, and we had a TV and it had cable, and we're all just sitting there. It's like, I mean, there was like 8 people in the class, right?
Yeah.
And we took pictures and developed the photos. It was not
Ah,
really a
Mhm.
difficult class, but it was cool.
gotcha.
It was artistic techniques to learn. And
Mhm.
35 millimeter film and in
Yeah.
black and white, so you got to learn the process.
Mhm.
But
Yes.
that song came on, and I remember listening to the tones of the synthesizer on top of the guitars and the drums. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
What is
Mhm.
this?
It caught your attention.
Because it was a beautiful infusion of different
Yeah.
styles, and
Mhm.
that's what
Absolutely.
got it. I found
Mhm.
myself leaning toward these infusions of styles of music because I found the beauty in unity, um,
Mm.
which I found was interesting back in late '80s, early '90s with Queen
Mhm.
Latifah's "UNITY."
Yeah,
That
that's
was
the
a time where a
unity.
lot of gang stuff was happening. It was bad, and that was
Yeah.
that was what it was about. Wanted people to come together,
Yeah.
but it
Mhm.
expressed. It came across different genres because, and I say that because remember, you had Ice-T and Henry Rollins getting
Mhm.
together
Mhm.
Yes.
early on, and then they came together for the first, the Lollapaloozas, and with
Yeah.
that project,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
it was at a time where a lot of stuff started to infuse.
Yeah.
A lot of guitar, like heavy guitar and electronic stuff, started coming together in industrial style music.
Mhm.
Mhm.
9 Inch Nails,
Oh
okay.
Yes.
yeah.
Trent Reznor
Yes.
launched out of Cleveland. Okay,
Mhm.
he kind of launched out of
Okay.
Cleveland, so that was
Uh-huh.
big.
Yeah.
Even though it was more underground, it went big. It took a genre and lifted it.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Um,
Mm.
so it made kind of like the freaky punk rocker people now suddenly not so weird.
Right.
Right, right, because
Right.
that was at the forefront. It made its way
Right.
to the forefront, and whatever is at the forefront determines the trend. You know.
Mhm.
Right, and then that started giving more credence to other electronic music that was similar. A band out of Kent called Dink signed with Capitol. Link back to Rhonda Badikian, okay?
Yeah,
Worked with
shout out
Capitol
to
Records
Rhonda.
for a long time. She
Mhm.
may know exactly who I'm talking about, but Dink came out. They just lost a member not too long ago. Shout out to the late Sean
Okay.
Carlin. He sold me my first synthesizer and related equipment.
Yeah.
Brilliant musician and talented guy. Uh, they were on there for a while, had some video play. So we kind of gained traction in locally for that
Mhm.
kind
Yeah.
of, an attention to it.
Yes.
In the late '80s, early '90s, more the beginning of the '90s. Now, unless you went to like clubs that played like kind of electronic music,
Mhm.
there was a big revolution.
Okay.
There was a big musical revolution at the time that happened in these clubs to where they were bringing in more European and like Detroit style house was
Mm-hmm.
flipping these other styles. And it was
Hmm.
like a combination of everything. I mean, they were even
Yes.
sampling Metallica and putting it into
Hmm.
dance tracks. There was
Mm-hmm.
literally this big flip that
Yes.
merged so much. And I would meet amazing people. There was a Cleveland club that started off as Metropolis, then it turned into Trilogy, and I think something else, and it went back to Metropolis. They had a sister hood with a club in was it Rotterdam or Amsterdam, somewhere in Holland. So they had
Okay.
DJs coming in, bigger DJs.
Uh-huh.
Moby and Prodigy came in and played
Mm-hmm.
live there, like at the beginning of the '90s. When they started
Hmm.
launching. Different, like I said, different DJs. And it was right when they started putting DJs even on stage when they had
Yeah.
like bigger ones,
Like a
taking them
feature
out of the
act.
booth.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's fun.
Like
I
feature.
get a chuckle because I see like flashback '90s rave people and like Facebook pages are like, "Oh, remember when we were doing it? And we went there to the DJs." I'm like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then they play videos where they're staring at the DJ. I'm like, "Come on, y'all, we were there. I remember what we were doing too,
Yeah.
partying.
Yeah.
But come on, man, I
Yeah.
remember." I
Hmm.
get a chuckle. It's funny, but yeah,
Absolutely.
that was when the trend because and now hip hop had been doing it. In fairness, with the DJs, putting the
Absolutely.
DJs in the front
Right.
because
Yes.
like having all these battles and stuff, man.
Yeah.
Well,
Hmm.
I forget what movie it was. It was in the '80s, early '90s. God, it was like a guy.
Fresh
It was
Groove or
DJ
one of
battle.
those. I'm just throwing some titles out there. A
What is
movie
a
that
fresh groove?
the
Yeah,
movie
I can't
that what
remember. But anyway, if I think about it, I'll spit it out. But anyway, it was
Juice.
about DJing.
Juice.
Juice.
These DJ battles, and I remember watching this by chance on HBO one time. I'm like,
Uh-huh.
it was an accident, and I'm watching this
Mm-hmm.
going, I didn't know people were doing this. Like they were
Yeah.
big
Yeah.
contests and everything,
Mm-hmm.
which made
Yeah.
me look more in that aspect of that hip
The
hop
art
culture,
form.
part of the
Yeah.
culture, like because it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
what I was necessarily looking at.
Hmm.
But I realized a lot of the music that was this club music was that again that infusion you have in these
Yeah.
tribal
Yes.
beats, hip hop
Tribal beat.
beats that were infused with electronic dance. But
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
it's like you got snap, rhythm as a
Mm.
dancer, stuff
Yeah.
like
Yes.
that. KLF. This
Oh
Yes.
listen,
yeah.
Now that's where
lit
that's
a
where I
lot of hip
started
hop,
around that
a
era.
lot
That's
of
where I
house
started.
legends. A
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
house legends
Uh-huh.
were coming from like disco and hip hop, or like
Mm-hmm.
old styles that like flipped and they turned it into this club music
Yeah.
Yeah.
because when disco kind of took a hiatus, it never died. It just took a hiatus because people are like, that we're not so popular right now.
Right.
People are still grooving to it, and it's
Mm-hmm.
made a resurgence to a certain degree with a modern flair, believe it or not. Um,
Yes.
some of them carried over and turned it into house, like got
Hmm.
into the house style because it was similar, just
Yeah.
a thumpier beat. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Which
Mhm.
comes from that heartbeat. I don't know if you guys
Yeah.
realize it, but they've done
Yeah.
studies on BPMs. The
Yeah.
reason why most electronic dance music clocks in at 128 as an average, because it's the
Mm.
most conducive with like a certain level of excitement, get your heart going.
Really?
So
Yes. That's
there's a lot of
Yeah.
science that goes into
Yeah.
this.
I love how that kind of like you're speaking, mostly from that Ohio, that Northeast Ohio point of view, but what you're saying, it was happening in a little bit different ways.
Describing it than
Detroit
we
had their own version, and then kind of like what Juan was just saying in the comments, in New York City, we had our own version, especially in the Latin community. It was that freestyle music. It was that same thing, like early '90s, late '80s freestyle, and it was around that 110 to 115 BPM. So it was a little
Okay,
bit
yeah,
different,
yeah.
but it was all in that, like TKA and the Cover Girls and all that kind of stuff, man. That's
Right?
taking us back, brother. You're taking us back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ashley
Yeah.
says that too. Bring it back to the day.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
It was happening
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we may not realized it, as a collective whole,
Yeah.
where we were more now, I think, because it's that kind of music's been like it's 30 years for electronic that
Yeah.
it's been like set foundations to where
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is 2023, and it's been shaking houses for a while, and it just
Yeah.
kind of disappeared, and it kind of slowly took a lot of stuff over. Video
Yeah.
games,
Mhm.
movies.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's
all over the
everywhere.
place.
Yeah. And-
Billions. The industry right now, I posted this a few months ago, how much it was articles about US and European measures, and it's something like 9 billion, something like that currently. In Europe, yeah. And by 2030, they estimate it's going to be like $30 billion a year industry.
Wow.
There are huge festivals happening all the time, all over the world, um, and it's just phenomenal.
Yeah.
And it's
No,
all
that's
and it's
awesome.
people from all over the world going
Mhm.
to these things.
Yeah.
It's not, and it's people listening to different types of music, and you
Mhm.
get people like David Guetta,
No,
Tiesto,
David Guetta, yeah, famous.
AOD, okay,
Yeah.
who all started working with a bunch of major artists that were different styles. David Guetta, probably the biggest because, he's, gosh, I mean, a lot of pop artists, even hip hop artists, he like just is hooked up with,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and they've made incredible songs. Right now, he's,
Mhm.
got a lot with BB Rexa.
Mm-hmm.
And, she's been touring. I mean, he's helped like make her really
Yeah.
big right
No,
now.
he's got a big name. I remember I first heard about David Guetta doing a gig with Famous, MCing with Famous
Yeah,
back some
I
years
used to go
ago.
heavy on Getter. For
Yeah,
sure.
David Guetta. That's how I learned.
That's one
A
of
real
those
quick
you
shout out to
can.
Sarah Simpson who's joining us. I
Yeah.
know she just threw a comment up. She's a big supporter of the chairman of the board and the music we do
I
here
said,
locally. Shout out to Sarah. Thank you for
Sarah.
joining us. But also another thing with the house music and the dance music, the EDM, it has that steady what we call as musicians four on the floor beat. Is that constant boom, 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 boom,
it's
and
hard.
depending on the
Mm-hmm.
tempo,
Heartbeat.
yeah. So I think that
Heartbeat.
makes it groovable, so to speak.
Yeah.
Listen to tribal music. I reflected on tribal music.
Mhm.
Trent Reznor, Nine Inch Nails, when he was talking about Pretty
Yeah.
Hate Machine, what he was doing, he said he was sampling old tribal music records.
Mhm.
Okay, and you go back, you listen to Indian beats, it's just hey, hey, steady beat.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
African beats are the same way. Now,
Yeah.
you got some other, percussion going
Elements.
on, but
Right.
you always got that
Yeah.
steady
That
beat going,
constant.
and it
Mhm.
represented the
The
heart.
heart.
You know, to it,
Mhm.
that to me, like it resonated. It
Yeah.
Yeah.
resonated a lot. So which kind of combined, and then you could take all these different genres, pour them
Mhm.
in there, and
Mm-hmm.
that resonated because listen,
Yeah.
that style, it's all about bringing unity together, the world together,
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
because there's so much love and appreciation. I mean, these big festivals, you got people flying flags from people fighting,
Everywhere, huh?
right? People fighting wars against each other, and they're
Yeah,
flying
but
flags together because these are people seeking to find that common ground, and it's through music.
Mm-hmm.
music.
Okay,
Yeah.
we find love and common ground through music,
Yeah. I
which was
agree.
really funny in 2020, where people getting mad at the elections about certain artists speaking out
Mhm.
against different political figures and whatnot. We were like, wait a minute, did you know these groups were political back in the '60s, and now
Mm-hmm.
you're
Oh
like,
yeah.
where
Yeah.
were you? You're
Now it's a
like,
problem.
it was weird to find out people just kind of blanked out on this,
Right.
Yeah.
because that's
Right.
what they were named for. That
Mhm.
was their big thing back in the late '60s during that era. Some of those
Mhm.
older
Mm-hmm.
groups, they were political, and then they come out
Yes.
political, and folks were like, I can't believe they're political. Wait,
Yeah.
wait a minute, where were you? You know, I don't know. One of the weird things of
Uh,
2020, right?
Yeah.
Um,
yeah. Oh yeah. One of many.
but
That list is that's a laundry list of weird things going on.
that was an interesting time. Speaking of
Mhm.
2020,
Mhm.
you mentioned how you guys started, doing these podcasts back then.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
original. This is how what really. I mean, I've been making music since high school. We started punk bands, and then it got
Yeah.
in the keyboard stuff, and there was a
Yeah.
lot of solo projects, and then with all these influences, which rotated to the more techno, and then
Mm-hmm.
how it is now,
Mhm.
which is a lot of different EDM styles, which is a
Yes.
blanket, thing, by the way. EDM
Mhm.
consists of a whole list
Yeah.
of different electronic dance, house, trance,
Mhm.
Afro house. You
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
have progressive house,
Yeah. A lot
tech
of
house. I mean, it breaks
subgenres.
Yeah.
down. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. But it's a big
Mhm.
blanket statement
Yes.
for a whole subgenre. But that happens with
Okay.
every genre. There's
Mm-hmm.
a
Yeah.
subgenre within there. It's kind of a
Mhm.
neat thing
Yeah.
that when you
Yeah.
open up one can of worms, you're like, oh
You can
man,
go
I didn't
deep
even know that.
dive. Yep.
Didn't even
Yeah.
inquire like that. But I got
Right.
into this. I kept making stuff, and I kept sending stuff out to different labels, not knowing what I was doing. Like I said, I take mix stuff down.
What was your mindset? What was your mindset at the time before you continue? What like so you're just like I'm just feeling creative. I'm
I
gonna
wanted
make
to be
some
a rock
music.
star. I'm not gonna lie. At a younger
Okay.
age,
Thank you.
wanted to be a
Okay.
rock star. I was watching these big groups, Inspire like the, Nine Inch Nails and Dink and other local bands, and other big groups.
Hmm.
I wanted to be a rock star. It
Okay.
sounded like it'd be a lot of fun. Of course,
Yeah.
different times, different mode,
Mhm.
mode of thinking.
Yes.
Uh, but love the creative side though, because it was an
Hmm.
outlet. Wrote a
Yes.
lot of lyrics. I still got folders from old lyrics from back then, and which
Wow.
is really neat to reflect on. Wrote a lot of
Hmm.
lyrics. I didn't know at all the ins and outs of the music business. I
Business
still
wise,
don't. I
yeah.
mean, it's a ever learning process for anybody in the business. Even the
Ever.
ones going back 50 plus years will tell you. I've
Hmm.
learned that too. That we're still learning.
Yeah.
You know,
Hmm.
um, I learned. Oh, geez, I lost my train of thought.
No,
um,
I was just
2020.
asking
2020, you
your
started
mind, your
sending it out.
mindset from wanting to be a rock star, right, to be the
yeah, but
front
that
guy.
changed over
To
the years. Different things to where just the creative side, and then becoming a dad and raising kids, and
Hmm.
just now it's about the creative thing.
Right.
Listen,
yes.
one of my favorite all time bands that again came out in the '80s, and I think it's really just one guy that produces this is Enigma. Remember
Hmm.
that?
Yes.
Hmm.
Enigma, they were huge.
Hmm.
Age of Innocence,
Hmm.
everybody listened to that. It was in all kinds of movies.
Yeah.
All their
Hmm.
music, real relaxed. It's kind of a slow trance music.
Like spa style music now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Spa.
it's really good to relax to. But
Meditation.
um,
Yeah.
they were not artists that necessarily went out and played big concerts,
Hmm.
or they just let the music speak for itself. That's my
Yeah.
attitude now. I just want to make some good artwork, and if I
Uh-huh.
can help other people along the way, and that's what 2020. It was interesting because um, my friend Jody Daniels went to high school with
Yeah.
Rhonda's
Okay, Jody.
band,
Yeah.
Real
Yeah. I
Fat
gotta get
Media
him on
Group.
this soon
Shout out
too.
to Jody. He's a longtime
Yeah. He's
friend.
he's a beast.
Yeah. And JDZ co-chair, man, great clothes
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
He was looking for somebody to shoot a music video. Now he knew I was doing stuff like that. I was into 3D animations and compositing and green screen work and all that stuff, making special
Yeah.
effects. It went back to drawing comics. It was like because as
Hmm.
a kid I wanted to make animations and and
Yeah.
work at Disney. So I was
Mm.
inspired. George Lucas, all these different inspirations.
Hmm.
Um, he had an artist named Kishara, amazing singer,
Okay.
did a cover for Bohemian Rhapsody. Jody did
Mm.
all the
Mm.
instruments. Like this man
Yeah.
played
He's
everything.
incredible. Hmm.
Kashara as a woman, female singer. This is sung by males
Hmm.
Okay.
traditionally. Nobody really covers Bohemian Rhapsody, and when they do, it's never like it's one of those songs where you're like, "Oh, how do we cover this?"
Hmm.
You know
Right.
what I mean? Because it's so well crafted. It's kind of
Right.
hard to like do it justice. They came out swinging,
Really.
and listen, and his YouTube page and on mine. I'll share this link later.
Yeah. Put it back in the comments after we sign off. That'll
Oh
be
my
fun.
goodness! Like she did all the vocals,
Hmm.
and from a female perspective, and I just it brings you to tears. It really
Wow.
does. It really
Uh-huh.
can. It's that good. They
Wow.
wanted it to be a video where it mimicked the original one. With the 4 band members, the whole 9 yards.
Hmm.
I'm like,
It's just her.
challenge accepted.
Yeah.
Wow.
They put faith and trust. Now, then Jody got on hold with me, phone with me, and said, "Listen, man," and I don't ask him questions about details. I didn't know who his manager was. I didn't even know that stuff. He had already been nominated for an HMMA, a
Yeah.
Hollywood
Yeah.
Music Media Award, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Had
Yeah.
been out to Hollywood. It was 2019, I think. Uh,
Hmm.
so I knew certain things, how well he's done and everything, but I didn't
Hmm.
know Rhonda or anything. He tells me about Rhonda, introduced me to Rhonda. I still don't
Hmm.
really. I'm still learning wonderful things about Rhonda, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
She's
she's
great.
just such an amazing lady on so many
Yeah.
levels. She's like
Yes.
a favorite aunt. I really is.
Yeah.
That's how I
Yeah.
look at it. She's like this.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Um,
Yeah.
he introduced me to her, tells me about her, has me look her up, and I'm like, no way, right? Just blown
Hmm.
away. Um, then Tina and Fran. Then all of a sudden we're doing these. We do these meetings, and in the
Hmm.
first meeting, Rhonda gets a business call, and she's telling me stories about American Idol, and I'm like, right, okay. Um, uh,
Hmm.
I'm like, man, this is no joke. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is a big deal.
Rig. Yeah, real deal.
humility
Yeah.
setting in.
Mm-hmm.
A game's got to step in, and I'm like, I'm a guy in the basement. I
Mm,
got a basement studio with some green screens and the right equipment to do this. I'm like,
Right.
okay, got a plan in motion. We
mm-hmm.
put this together, and I did a shot for shot with the 4-person in the group, in certain aspects
Yeah.
of it. Timed it up for the original video and mimicked it with it. Two versions were made.
Okay.
One had some, because of all the protests and all the shit, all the terrible things that were happening. George
Uh-huh.
Floyd,
Yeah.
all this stuff, right? It had a lot of that stuff infused
Mm.
with it,
Mm-hmm.
and so because we took it to that because it had a meaning that fit,
Abs-
um,
absolutely.
and that's the one they chose. And then they had another single called Monster
Okay.
that Jody had made, and I'm like, you know what, for fun, like, I'm going to make a video for this. This just sounds
Okay.
like fun. I was
Just for
inspired
fun.
from no, it was almost Halloween that year, and I was inspired by some old Scooby Doo, some old Scooby Doo,
Yeah.
and just a whole variety of Halloween style things, and decided to make an animation where the premise was some guy who was infatuated with Kashara, was looking for her. This is his thing, and where's
Yeah.
she at? He's trying to find her, and it turns out she's a zombie, and he winds up in
Ah.
like a house. It's kind of like Scooby Doo. Every room you go, there's a monster,
Yeah.
and
Did you have the reverse mask reveal?
well, no, well, no. Listen, I took some cues from even Thriller in this. I
Yeah.
paid some homage to different things because there's a part where he like gets into this, like he's trying to escape from these things, winds up in a room and discovers all the monsters plus Kashara as a zombie, and they all
Okay.
break
That's
out into part of the Thriller dance moves. Um,
nice. Nice.
okay, and dude's just
Mhm.
like werewolf behind him. You know what I mean? Like he's
Right.
just like, okay, what is this? You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
it's just a fun thing that was
Yeah.
made just to help promote Kashara
Right.
and Jody, because it was like I just felt so grateful because along the way I was offered to be a part of this online courses that Ron, Tina, and Francine were hosting, along with Jules
Mhm.
D out of Canada, and
Okay.
got to meet Brent Harvey, who founded
Oh
the
yeah.
HMMAs and
Mhm.
HIMAs.
Mhm.
Um, Ralph Johnson, Mr. Ralph Johnson, he was one of
Yeah.
the
Earth,
guests.
Wind, and Fire.
And
Shout out to them.
yeah, Mr. Johnson, thank you for
Yeah.
that. I mean, it was humbling, and learning that
Absolutely.
he still teaches people how to play drums.
Mhm.
Kids
Yeah.
to play drums. You know what
Yep.
I mean? I'm like, that is awesome.
It
Um,
is.
you know what I mean? And I love the artwork in this back, on his walls. I'm like, man, that's cool artwork. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
was,
Yeah.
it was a cool experience.
Mhm.
And then had my art, we were allowed to have our music because it was mostly musical artists, and
Right.
one of which was Nina Rose, who is Tina's artist, who won an HIMA, by the way. Shout out
Okay.
to Nina. Um,
Yeah.
her and Eric Jackson, Tina and Eric Jackson, Tina Cole and Eric Jackson. This is somebody that Nina Rose works. They work with her, and
Mhm.
she won.
Wow.
That they had, it was people that they had that were clients and everybody else. Rhonda, everybody, um,
Yes.
including Kashara. Well,
Okay.
they did this. Well, everybody could submit music, and DCat Cornelius was one of the guests. Producer
DCAT.
DCat
Yeah.
Cornelius, okay, worked with Snoop
Mhm.
Dogg and a lot of other
Yeah.
legends,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Again, humbling, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is.
I still submitted, even though I was there to learn, and from the aspect of the visual side, this was information. They were given great tools.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, yeah,
Mhm.
I'm going to eat this up, right? He critiqued one of my tracks, and he had
Wow.
lived in Holland and had like helped produce dance tracks on his too. So I'm like, why not? Why not? How many times are you going to get an opportunity to have somebody of that caliber,
Yeah. To
just
create
get,
your piece.
Yeah.
yeah, because it's tough to get somebody in that position, and they'll tell
Right.
you that too. Like they get so much in that,
Mhm.
unfortunately, a lot of artists get discarded, not because they're not good, but because
Yeah.
good gravy. I learned that out west over the summer. Like how much how much music they really get. It's
Right. Right. For people to.
people out
Mhm.
there understand. If you're sending stuff out there, it's nobody might not necessarily be intentionally ignoring you. You got so many people sending so much music, man. I mean, they try,
Mm-hmm.
they do their
Yeah, it
best,
is.
and it's a tough thing because there's a lot of
Mhm.
great artists.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank God for HIMAs because they wanted something big for independent artists. So shout out to
Yes.
Brent Harvey and everybody with HIMA, which I got
Yep.
nominated for, which is weird in of
Yeah,
itself.
you were out there. You were out there earlier this year.
Yeah, so well, that thing in 2020 ended up kind of playing a role, getting up to now. 2023,
Mhm.
beginning of the year rolls up. Jody approaches me at the beginning of the year. He's like, "Hey, I got a friend named Elena Harris, her and her husband Sam Harris. Work with them. They got Flex Radio. Shout out to Flex Radio and Sam and
Okay.
Elena Harris. Okay, they're
Mhm.
looking for a house track for a background for like promos. That's not my
Mm.
wheelhouse. I could do it. Well, are you interested? I'm like, are you
Mm.
kidding me? Thank you so much. Right. Um,
Yeah.
so I get in contact with Elena Harris. We talk about it. She tells them what we need. She uses it. I make a
Wow.
track called Filling the Time because they needed to fill the time. They loved it. It
Mhm.
inspired, it was helpful for them. It inspired me to start writing. The third track of a whole set of music that I've been writing since that one, it was like beginning of February, something like that, I think. The third track that I wrote, I submitted
Mhm.
because, you could open a thing for the HIMAs, and
Mhm.
I submitted this, and wow, to my surprise, it got selected.
That's
And this
awesome.
was the third song of this series. Okay, I
Yeah,
wrote it
that's
in
amazing.
March,
Mm.
and
Wow.
I'm
Good
like,
work.
what is happening here? You know,
Mhm.
humbled. And then I go out there, and then it was one step after the next. It was like 2 hours, 2.5 hours. I get there. Rhonda, bless Rhonda, she just kind of like gave me the tour. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
that
she
she's
took
great,
me.
man.
First
Yeah.
place she took me because she knew about the animation stuff with some friends at a place called AMGI Studios. Shout out to them for allowing us
Mhm.
to come in, and they're great independent studio that works at video games, animation. They are cutting edge. Let me tell you what, people that run the place, amazing folks, got deep roots in the entertainment industry, like big
Mhm.
studios and stuff. There was a gentleman
Mhm.
that helped create Buzz Lightyear,
Mm.
Oh,
okay, for
wow.
Pixar and Disney. He was part of that. There were some legends, and then it turned out the building that this studio was in was the one that Don Bluth, okay, had his studios at. Don Bluth, for anybody who doesn't know, made American Tail movies. Five
Mhm.
Okay.
Five of the
Oh,
Mouse.
yeah, 50 Goes West.
Five was born in that building.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
was like, oh, and Don
Yeah.
Bluth worked for Disney, and as somebody who was inspired by Disney, who once wanted to work for Disney, I'm on the
Yeah.
floor, like,
In
oh,
Yeah.
heaven.
It's
mentally
like
going,
full
oh
circle.
my gosh, what is
Mhm.
this? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And they shared some neat things, and it was like they were all such amazing people, made some wonderful
Yeah.
connections, and
Yeah.
it was like, and then of course there's Rhonda, having chats with Ralph Johnson on the phone, and you're just like,
Everybody.
oh, it's a world right
Like
here,
it's
you
nothing.
know, the
Yeah.
conversations you hear, and it's
Yeah.
like that
Mhm.
big part of the entertainment industry, and again, I'm thinking I'm a little guy from Ravenna, Ohio,
Mhm.
Yeah.
in this big world, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. And then we go, one place after the next. Shout out to Luigi, a producer. That's a Grammy-nominated producer here. Let
Uh-huh.
me get this right. Delgado, Luigi Delgado. Okay.
Okay.
Um,
Wow.
we went to his studio and
Mhm.
chilled, and we were talking about stuff, and they were having conversation. I'm just mostly listening, and he played some
Yeah.
amazing tracks from his artists,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
and he was working on some stuff that was linked to some bigger movies and stuff, bigger things. And
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, this is amazing stuff.
Yeah. You're
And you,
definitely in the right because if I'm not mistaken, you just started pursuing in 2020
well, like at this level,
as
it was
far as
like, all
Right.
of
yeah.
a
Right.
sudden,
Okay. So
you
you
get into some doors and you're like, oh my gosh, and it's all
That's
these things that
amazing,
help
man.
make you who you
yeah.
are, that
We gotta
influence
do.
you.
We're gonna have to do a part 2 to this because you got
Oh, are we out of time
stories.
already? Oh, it's
But I want to keep going because
yeah.
you have so many
Hold on.
stories and the different placements where your music is going and your videos. I want to pull up the video so we can watch it together and all
Yeah.
this stuff.
I
And
will
if you
drop
join
the link to the
Yeah.
videos I mentioned, so that
Yeah.
way you guys see it. Because
Yeah.
plus I want people to see more of these that artist and Jody, because man,
Yeah.
this still needs to get traction. This is some
Absolutely.
great work. By these,
Absolutely.
you know,
We're gonna put the link to the
Yeah.
YouTube link in the comments as well. We do want everybody to watch that video because it sounds
Yeah.
amazing already. I already pulled it up while we were talking and bookmarked it.
He's sneaky over
So
there.
yeah, I'm
But,
ready. I'm ready to fire it up.
Yeah, and ladies and gentlemen, if you joined us late, DJ Famous has a wedding to
Yeah.
DJ. He probably got to officiate. All right,
No,
can
just
maybe
DJ.
make a
out, man.
suggestion?
Look it up.
just
we
the
got
DJ.
we're having Juan on next week for a catch up, right?
Yeah.
And maybe James, if you could, we probably do a half and half, maybe James.
Yeah,
next week?
let's continue this.
So because we hate.
Yeah,
thank
let's
you.
continue this. I want to talk
totally-
more about my love of EDM. I want to talk to you about the Dust Brothers and 9 Inch Nails. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, man,
Those are my
and
jams.
we have to be able to give us your contact information real quick for those who may not be here next week. Anybody you want to look up James? You want to get more information about his music production? Any more information about his visual production, visual art, all of the graphics? Tell us, James. We'll put it in the comments.
Yeah.
I will. Thank you, gentlemen, so much for having me here. This, you know, I want to pick your brain seriously. From what,
Yeah.
you know,
We need
no,
more
seriously.
hours.
Yeah.
You guys are wonderful. You guys are wonderful on so many levels. You know what I've gotten to know so far, and I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
for sure.
We talked about this before. There's so many amazing, genuine people in the entertainment business, and there's a reason why some of these artists and people in the background are done so well, and they are who they are. It's because they're really
Character.
great people.
Yeah.
So
Yes,
shout out to all the really great people. Don't believe the hype for the goofy stuff, folks. There's some amazing people. No, really, there's some amazing people that are the most sincere, genuinely
you.
kind people I've ever come
Thank you.
across in my
Thank
entire
you.
life. You know,
Yeah,
and
I agree.
shout out to this because there's a reason why we lean to entertainment the way we do music because it's real.
It's
Absolutely.
real.
People out real stuff.
It's real. So
thank
James,
gentlemen, for hosting something
will
like this?
will you be available next Tuesday?
Yes, sir.
as
Yes,
well?
sir.
Yeah,
Okay,
part
is
two
Juan,
with
Juan
the
still in the
master.
comments? Juan, is Juan still here? Juan, we did. We're gonna do a catch up with Juan as well. So
Yeah,
maybe
we'll do
we
half
can
and
do
half. We'll bring him
half and
on.
half, or we just make Juan the third co-host next
Yeah,
week. We'll figure
that's
it
what
out.
it's going to be. That's what it's going
We'll
to be. We're
figure
going to
it
have all
out.
four of us on screen next week.
Yeah. James, we're gonna go ahead and do a quick dismissal, but stay on and we'll say goodbye to you
Okay.
separately.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank y'all so much for joining us
part
today.
one.
We're gonna have to go. Yeah, this is part one with James F. Masters. DJ Famous has some money to go grab and a job to go do, and
Yes.
we don't want to make him late, especially being that our platform is all about conducting good business. We thank you all for
Yes,
joining us.
Thank you for
Come
that.
back next week. We're going to do a part two with James, and we're going to have a
Yes.
third co-host if Juan is still up for that. And
Yeah.
we're going to say God bless you all. James, stay on the line. Everybody have a great
right.
rest of the day, rest of the week. We'll see
Yeah,
you next
thank
week.
you.
Bye, everybody.